Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
And today we're talking about Star Wars, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. The not quite final installment, I guess you could say, of our Star Wars marathon, since in less than 2 weeks, Star Wars The Force Awakens opens up in theaters, and you better believe we're going to do an episode on that one.
I've got tickets.
I've got my tickets as well. So, this film is obviously the last chapter of the original trilogy, and it was directed by Richard Marquand. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but written by Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas from a story by George Lucas, and starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels, Peter Mayhew, Ian McDiarmid, Alec Guinness, Kenny Baker, Frank Oz, James Earl Jones / David Prowse. Was released in 1983.
Yep.
And before we get into that, I thought actually we could talk a little bit about a trailer that was just released for a film called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Let's do it. What was your first thought about the trailer?
Well, I was super excited to see the trailer. You know, they released it Wednesday night, and I think 2 days before that, they released that 45-second clip. And that 45-second clip where like Batman's tied up, and then Superman shows up looking really angry, and unmasks Batman.
Yeah.
That clip, I remember like as soon as it started, and I saw Batman like tied up, and he like looks over and he sees the other guys tied up, I went, whoa. And then Superman comes down the hole, and those guys like bow and everything, and I went, whoa. and then then when Superman unmasks Batman and that look on Ben Affleck's face, I went, whoa. And then that clip ended, and I was like, wow. So I got super excited by that, just like that little clip. And then this trailer was released, and I was very excited to watch the trailer. And I had mixed feelings after my first viewing. I'll say that. I loved most of it. I thought the conversation between Bruce and Clark in the beginning was really, really well done, where he's talking about the Daily Planet. It's kind of being hypocritical by calling out Batman, basically, when they have this, what he calls an alien who could burn the place to the ground, among them. I really like how Bruce Wayne really is upset about what happened in Metropolis, and I really like the kind of Bruce Wayne's POV shots of that scene from Man of Steel.
Oh yeah, I'm really glad they are doing that. I hope that's the opening scene. I hope they take you right there. That's the opening. Yeah, just opening scene.
That would be kind of actually really cool if it just opens up with that.
Right.
With just chaos,
and I think
basically.
It makes so much sense too. They're going to want to open with an action scene.
Uh-huh.
And to basically connect, first of all, you're connecting anyone that didn't see Man of Steel.
Right.
So it's got to be. It's got to be the first scene.
So what?
It's got to be the first scene. I don't think there's any other decision. I don't know why it would not be the first scene. Because you're going to want to bring in your audience.
It would make total sense if it was the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see how, like you said, I don't know what you would put in front of it unless it's just some sort of, I don't even know.
If it's not the first scene, it'll be the second one.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love those shots of him looking up and seeing Superman and Zod, especially that far away shot of Superman like holding on to Zod or whatever. I thought was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You and I think when Affleck was announced that he was going to be Batman, I think most of the people, I think a lot of people didn't like the idea, and at first I was like, really? But then I think you and I warmed up to it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
if not, you might have been right away. You might have been right off the bat.
I was. I think I'm not dropping names, but he's like one of the few celebrities that I've met.
Right.
and it was kind of when he was down and doing his. He was just right before he was getting ready to start doing stuff like The Town,
right,
and stuff, and he actually got his daughter baptized at my grandparents' church. So, but I got to talk to him just for a few minutes because I just wanted to ask him about directing. And basically, I asked him if I should stay in Atlanta or move to LA. And this was before Atlanta started booming.
Right.
And he was like, "Stay in Atlanta, become a director there."
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my path, I believe, has been. And anyway, going off topic, he was a really cool guy, and when I found out he was going to be Batman, I was rooting from him from the beginning. It's really what that amounts to.
Right, and I don't think I was quite there at the very beginning, but I warmed up to it very, very quickly. And seeing him in costume in the trailer, I think he's quite possibly one of the coolest looking Batman to ever, be on the big screen. The suit that they've got him in, the very kind of Dark Knight Returns-ish suit, and just his build and his face and everything with Ben Affleck's chin with that Batman mask, I think just works perfectly.
What's amazing about that shot, because that's the one that got me too. I have very confusing emotions about when I watched the trailer, because one, I got punched in the face, like metaphorically, when Doomsday came sliding down the building. I had that. What? I was not expecting that at all. It was almost like a once in a life, one of those few moments you rarely get, when you're anticipating something like this. Because that was a shocker.
There was, because
you typically hear, if you've got something like that and you're like Ultron,
right?
Ultron's going to be there, so you don't have the reveal, and then he comes out of the shadows, and it's interesting. This was like Doomsday had been. It was not even on the table, really. So to see it come to like from what I've seen, am I wrong?
Well, I'd heard rumors that Doomsday was going to be in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it wasn't a total shocker for me, because I had read about the potential of Doomsday being in the movie, and I was hoping that wasn't the case. And so when Doomsday showed up, it was actually, that's the part of the trailer that kind of makes me a little nervous, because I don't really care for how, it's not a character thing, it's a CG thing.
Right.
I don't really care for how Doomsday looks.
How he looks. I know exactly what you mean. The first time you see him, your gut does a little twist.
Yeah.
But for me, what I thought is, and what I'm hoping, one, the rest, like everything else that we've seen has been pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
What do you think about Jesse Eisenberg?
Actually, I don't mind Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I think, when they first announced him as being Lex Luthor, I was like, what? What are they doing? And obviously they're going for a much younger, and seems to be a much more kind of, they're going for a more humorous take on Lex Luthor, it seems like. So
he kind of reminds me a little bit of Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma.
Right. Yeah. Even with the hair and everything.
Right.
No, but I don't mind. Like when you first see him and he's like, I love this. I love bringing people together. And then, of course, he has it's kind of a silly joke, because we know that Batman and Superman are going to fight one another. And he goes, don't pick a fight with this person.
Right.
Like, even that stuff I actually thought is fine. And I like his little exchange with Lois Lane about how she's like, you're psychotic. And he's like, that's just a 3-syllable word for, people use that don't have big minds or whatever. I can't remember what the line is.
Right.
But so, yeah, I'm actually kind of interested to see where that goes. And obviously, there was one picture released where I thought he was bald, or at least, it's kind of cropped, but it looked like he didn't have any hair. So I'm curious to see, how that happens. Is he wearing a wig throughout the movie, or is he going to lose his hair. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal what happens in terms of how he becomes bald, or if he becomes bald. But
unless there's a twist to it,
there's two Lex Luthors. So no, none of that bothers me. I think my main concern is, number one, we're 3 months out from the movie. It's just comes out in March. We've had like 3 trailers already. I'm hoping this is the last one, but you have to wonder.
Yeah.
It's going to probably do what Star Wars is doing. I mean, Star Wars is actually pretty smart, I think, because they put out the last trailer not that long ago, and now they've had a few TV spots to kind of keep people excited.
Right. Have you seen any of those?
No, I haven't really watched any of the TV spots. I've watched the trailer, and I finally gave in and watched the trailer. And
I kind of accidentally saw one of them. And it was something I wish. I mean, it's not ruining it for me, but I
wish you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see it in the theater.
Yeah, and not to get off topic with the Batman trailer because I want to get back to it, but I read that people were starting to get a little concerned. They're like, you're showing too much of the movie. Don't give everything away. And somebody, I don't know who it was, but somebody said out of all the footage that's been released in the trailers and the TV spots, it only amounts to 6 minutes of the 2 hours and 15-minute movie.
Right.
So it's like they've only released 6 minutes of footage total out of the 2 hours and 15 minutes. Granted, some of that 6 minutes may be shots that you don't want to see. Like there was a shot in the trailer that I wish I hadn't seen with Poe Dameron looks like getting tortured. I kind of wish that hadn't been in the trailer, but still only 6 minutes. So there's still so much that we have not seen yet out of the movie. So and we're less than 2 weeks away for that too, man. I'm getting pumped.
I think what's most intriguing about the Star Wars trailers has been that we still know zero story.
Right, exactly.
We have no idea what's going on.
Right, and that's my concern with this Batman vs. Superman trailer. Is I'm assuming it's going to be our last trailer, but at the same time, since we're 3 months out, I don't think they're going to want people to, forget that this movie's coming out, so they're going to release something else, I'm assuming in February or something. Whether it's TV spots and stuff, they might not release another full trailer, but they're going to start releasing TV spots with more footage and whatnot.
Right.
And from this trailer, I think we've got a pretty good understanding of what the story is.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Totally.
And so, I don't need to see anything else. I'd like to go just, the Aquaman cameo, I'd rather just save that for the theater and stuff.
Stuff like this, this is like we were saying, hopefully their last trailer. At this point, a movie like Batman v Superman, you're going to want the story elements for the most part. Right. For Force Awakens, I think it's just, that's one where you can keep it hidden and it doesn't matter. And that's a rare commodity.
Right, and I would argue that you could do the same thing with Batman versus Superman. You just say, hey, look, we've got a Batman movie, or we got a Superman and Batman movie. What else do you need? But I guess for Star Wars, obviously is going to be huge, and I think it's going to make more money than Batman versus Superman. So, yeah, I can see how you want to.
I agree.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, it's definitely going to make more money than Batman vs. Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess you could say you want to throw some story in there for people to know what's going on. Lastly, I guess my main concern with the movie is that it just seems like there's so much packed into this trailer and into this movie that, number one, I hope that it's a fairly long movie. But it's funny because when you have like a 2 hour and 45 minute to a 3 hour superhero film, most people say it's too long.
Yeah, I mean, Man of Steel was how long?
It was close to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It was like 2 hours and 25 minutes or something like that. And I think people said that one was too long. And so I'm just, now that we know for a fact that Doomsday's in the movie, and for a fact that Batman and Superman have to fight, and that Wonder Woman shows up, and Aquaman has a cameo, and supposedly Cyborg is even in this movie, I'm just nervous that it's going to be a Spider-Man 3 thing where they've got so many things going on, they don't spend enough time on each thing.
Let's do this one. Who's directing this? Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
Who did Watchmen.
That's true.
And how'd that turn out?
Well, it didn't make a whole lot of money, I don't think. But
it did not. That is true. But he is clearly making Superman and Superman. Right. I mean, it got him his job. That's one of the many elements that got him his job.
Sure. So I'm hoping, yeah. I mean, I don't see Warner Brothers pressuring Zack Snyder to give them a movie that's under 2 hours.
Right.
Obviously Man of Steel was over 2 hours and everything. So, and they did well with The Dark Knight, that was 2.5 hours, and The Dark Knight Rises, that was 2 hours and 45 minutes. So,
here's my thing. This is the most comic book Batman movie anyone has ever been introduced to. Yeah. So to see something like Doomsday come down, when we've been seeing these images of Batman, and I'm hoping, I'm kind of glad and excited about the direction that they are going, because this is going to be the comic book Batman movie that I want.
Mm-hmm.
I want a Dark Knight Returns. I don't know about, I've seen a lot of the animated stuff that they've done, and not to mention the stuff for like DC universe, the videos for that and stuff. I have been wanting to see and bring that to life, which the Nolan movies never were,
Right.
And to do this to Batman is I'm sure Warner Brothers is taking a huge risk, or feels like they're taking a huge risk. Especially now with the reaction. Oh man, they're wondering, oh man, did we mess up here? Should we have stayed with the Nolan verse?
Right.
But I'm excited to see. I think Zack Snyder, with Watchmen, which I love, and Man of Steel was so good. And here's the other thing I was going to mention: Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man. First time I saw Lizard, I was not happy with him, and the first time I watched the movie, I was not happy with him.
Right.
And we mentioned in the podcast that it could have been because there was a couple kids talking in the theater, and I just wasn't paying attention to the movie. But the second time I watched it, and I think another part of that was comparing it to the Raimi movies.
Right.
But the second time I watched it, I was able to really take it in for what it was. And Lizard, even though I think Doomsday reminds me more of Lizard.
Okay.
Than
Abomination.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that, because Lizard grew on me.
Right.
And I'm hoping that Doomsday will be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, I hope so too. And and the movie is still 3 months out, so it's possible that they could kind of do some CG work on him and get him to look even better than he does in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm still gonna go see it, obviously, but
I don't know.
You're on the fence. You're on the fence about it?
I might skip this one.
No, but I think I'm 100% behind you on what you said about this as being like the comic booky Batman that we haven't gotten a chance to really see yet. Obviously I love the Nolan trilogy, but it is very grounded in reality, and in the Nolan trilogy there was no way that like the Justice League could exist, and they didn't even really. Right. Couldn't ever have like a Robin. They kind of were able to
even in the Burton, even in Burton's films.
Right, in Burton, and Robin maybe could have had a place in like the Burton's films, but it would have been tough. And they obviously, had him in the Schumacher films, but we won't talk about that. But in this one, it seems like to really make sense to see that Robin costume with the writing on it from the Joker. This Batman feels like. It exists within the Justice League universe. Seeing that shot at the end of the movie at the end of the trailer with Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman standing there, like it feels perfect. Yeah. I do wonder why Batman's holding a gun, but I'm assuming it's maybe some sort of gadget gun, not necessarily an actual just shotgun that Batman is holding or something. But I am curious about that. But one of the things that I think, and this is such a small little detail, but I think it's perfect, is I love that this Batman can turn his head. That's like such a small little detail, but like that's one of the things that always kind of bugged me about the Burton and Schumacher.
See, Batman. At the same time, I love that. Though.
I know
I love the Michael Keaton whole body turn.
I know. When he has to like talk to somebody, it's very, very stiff. I mean, it's part of our childhood, so I suppose I have to love it. But seeing
it's Batman's motion
at the end of the trailer and everything, and be like, "I thought she was with you." Oh, let's talk about that for a second. His voice. What do you think about Batman's voice in the trailer? There's like 2 lines, especially that kind of seem like they're that one, the one at the end where he goes, "I thought she was with you," and then there's one where he's like, "It's time to teach you what it means to be a man," or something like that. And they both sound very digitally kind of enhanced.
I didn't pick up on it so much. I did on the first one, but I need to go back and watch the "I Thought She Was With You" one.
Right, yeah, just fast forward to the end or whatever and listen to it again. Let me know what you think.
Yeah,
but,
it's not worth watching. Don't watch the trailer.
Don't watch the
again.
whole thing. No,
yeah, just fast forward.
Get the Doomsday part. No, it's interesting, and I wonder why they chose to do that. I wonder if Affleck's Batman voice wasn't good enough, and so they had to add a little effect to it or something. But it also makes me believe that line from, because you know how there was something in that very first trailer where he says, "Do you bleed? You will."
Yeah.
And we all thought he sounded weird because he sounded very, Iron Man-ish or something.
Right.
And I was like, well, maybe it's not Batman. Maybe it's Cyborg. There was something that led me to believe that it was in fact Batman, but I can't remember what it is now. But this trailer also makes me think that it was probably him because he has that effect.
It could be Doomsday.
Oh, it could be Doomsday. That'd be interesting. Or maybe it's Batman talking to Doomsday.
Did the other one sound as gritty as the "Will You Bleed" or do you bleed?
No, these don't sound quite. It doesn't sound the same.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it is Doomsday, and they just wanted you to think that it was Batman. But
right,
I don't know though. Why would you reveal? Because that was technically a Batman voice reveal, and why would you trick your audience like that? When after, that has to be Batman.
Yeah. One thing that I'm kind of hoping, and I don't really know if this is the case at all, but it looks like they're creating Doomsday from Zod's dead body. They're somehow doing some sort of cloning.
Right.
I would really like I'd probably, well, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It'd be really cool if Doomsday was a performance by Michael Shannon. I don't think it is. I'm assuming Michael Shannon pretty much just showed up on set to play a dead body. But it would be pretty nice if Doomsday was essentially played by Michael Shannon. That'd be pretty sweet. Kind of like Mark Ruffalo in the Hulk.
Yeah. Oh, he did that?
Mark Ruffalo?
Yes.
In the Hulk? Yes. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got on that trailer. There's a couple of cool Easter eggs. Apparently somebody...
I wanted to talk about the quick... What was it? The quick tease for the trailer about the Batman mask. We were talking about the Batman mask and how you can also see emotion in this thing.
Uh-huh.
As Superman is walking up to Batman, you can see...
He actually looks scared.
Alertness. Yeah. He's on high alert. He does look kind of scared, which is, you can see it in his mouth and you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
And that's also, that also I think gives some credit to Affleck.
Yeah.
But and also Cavill as well. He when it cuts to him, his eyes are glistening, and he's kind of emotional about something.
Mm-hmm.
So when he takes off the mask, do you think he already knows, or do you think that's the first time he finds out?
Well, I read something about that scene that made me a little disappointed about that scene. And I can tell you what it is, or I can... I don't know if it's
spoilerish. Is it a dream sequence?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's supposedly, I don't know how this happens, if there's some supernatural element.
I heard that possibility too. Are you sure it's...
I don't know if... I mean, it's a rumor, I guess. I don't know if it's 100% fact, but it makes sense. Because what I read was that he was getting a glimpse of what the future would be like if Superman were to rule the world, basically.
Interesting.
And that's why those guys like bow down to him and stuff.
Darkseid,
yeah,
before he attacks someone or a planet, he sends images and visions to people to try to get them to fight for him.
Oh, interesting.
And if you notice in the vision, there's these like bug-like creatures.
Yeah, I've been curious about that, and supposedly those are like Darkseid's kind of like minions or something.
So I'm wondering if it's a vision instead of a dream from Darkseid.
It could be. Darkseid supposedly is the villain in Justice League.
You would assume he's going to be... I mean, you've got Thanos and...
Right, they're going to want to do something big.
Yeah, and I think this is their opportunity to beat Marvel to the punch, actually. Like, because they've only got 2 Justice League movies they're doing. When is...
I think the first Justice League movie, I could be wrong about this, but I think the first Justice League movie is 2017.
Right.
And then the next one's either going to be 2018 or 2019.
And when is...
Avengers 3 is 2018.
Yeah. So if they made Justice League 1 Darkseid, and this could be the coming of Darkseid, and you make Justice League 1 Darkseid, who is very similar to Thanos.
Yeah.
It's kind of, they could kind of get an upper hand on Marvel, I think, making people that go see Marvel feel like they're watching the same movie that they saw with DC.
Oh, we already saw this with Superman and Batman. Yeah, it's very true, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking too. Like, we've got a property that's very similar to Thanos. We should get this out there, which hopefully they don't rush it too much. But with Zack Snyder's making Justice League, both of them, right?
I believe he is, yeah.
Yeah. So I think hopefully it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we've only seen one Snyder DC movie.
Right.
And imagery and trailers for what's to come. I was a big fan of Man of Steel, and I am very optimistic still, and have liked pretty much everything I've seen from Batman v Superman.
Yeah, me too. I'm still very optimistic too. I'm hoping that it's gonna blow me away. So we'll just have to, wait another 3 months and find out.
So, Star Wars.
Return
of the Jedi.
The Jedi. Last film before The Force Awakens.
Yeah. And it was really cool to be able to watch and finish this movie, knowing that in 2 weeks I'm going to get to see what the next chapter is.
Yep, exactly.
And it's the official, chapter.
Next chapter. Right.
Luke Skywalker.
Where Jar Jar Binks is going to be the bad guy.
Right. That's going to be the big reveal.
Right. For anybody not knowing what I'm talking about, there was this, I guess it was on Reddit. Somebody kind of came up with this theory about how Jar Jar Binks was originally going to be the evil mastermind in the prequel trilogy. He was the Phantom Menace, basically. And it's one of those really fun theories to think about. I really don't know if that's what Lucas had in mind, but when you listen to this guy's points, you're like, wow, he's got a lot of interesting points. So I like to, my brother and I, we were going to rewatch the original trilogy kind of with that in mind to see if it kind of clicked or not, but we never did. But so anyway, that's what we're talking about, because the guy ends his theory saying that Jar Jar Binks is going to be the bad guy in the new movie, which I highly doubt, but would be hilarious.
I think I have a better chance of going to the gas station right now, buying a lottery ticket,
and winning the lottery than Jar Jar Binks being the bad guy. And he's like, it'd be hilarious if he's so prominent in episode 1. You see him here and there in episode 2 and 3, He's nowhere to be found in episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then is the bad guy in episode 7. It'd be great.
Well, here's something we got to remember. It wouldn't be 7. We're not going to get all these things wrapped up in this, and there's going to be a lot of I think
cliffhangers.
Yes.
And questions.
And it's going to be hard to take because we're going to have to wait 2 years for them.
So really what you're saying is Jar Jar Binks is going to be the bad guy in 7, 8, and 9.
But the big reveal is going to be in 9. You're not going to see Jar Jar Binks until the very end of 9.
You might get a glimpse of him.
And they won't change.
We just hear, Misa.
They won't change his voice. It's going to be the same.
That'd be awesome.
I'll go ahead and say it since we're talking about Jar Jar Binks. The thing that I noticed at the end of this movie. Did you know they go to Naboo? They show Naboo?
Yes.
And
that's an addition. That's not, obviously that wasn't in the original movie.
Well,
that's one of those George Lucas editions.
Special edition. I have the DVD version. I don't have the Blu-ray. So this is just the. I think it was the very first special edition.
Yeah.
And then I had the closed caption on.
Uh-huh.
And it pops up, and very faintly, one of them goes, "We's a free," and it shows up on the caption.
Oh, that's awesome!
And my heart stopped.
That's Jar Jar Binks just telling everybody.
Yeah.
We's a free,
dude, seriously, what is the purpose? The audio. George Lucas is sitting in the room as this thing's being edited. He's like, put that in right there. Just a little audio of...
God, there's so many things he did that he put in this film that make me scratch my head. Obviously, I know, I understand why he showed Naboo, and he showed a couple other prequel cities. It was to, kind of bring it all together, I suppose. But, I think easily the worst part of this whole film, which was not in the original series or the original Return of the Jedi, is that terrible Muppet CGI dance sequence in Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Oh my god!
Where it's got the one person
every time I watch this movie, I forget that's in there because I grew up with the VHS
without it.
Yes, and every time that comes on, it's one of the worst things I have ever seen in my life.
It's painful. It's so painful to watch.
And I'm watching, and I'm sitting around with my kids watching this, and it hurts because I'm like, they're going to grow up thinking that this was part of the original Star Wars.
Yep,
it's sad.
They just released the Steelbook Blu-rays, the individual movies on Blu-ray, and I was really I don't have the money, but I was really tempted to buy them. Because, they haven't released them individually yet. So I thought it'd look really cool on the shelf, especially, even if it's not the same design, but especially when Force Awakens comes out on Blu-ray, to be able to put, to have 1 through 7 on the shelf like that, rather than having, because I don't have the complete box set. So I've got the prequel trilogy Blu-ray set, and then the original trilogy Blu-ray set, and then it'll be Force Awakens next to that on the shelf. So to have all 7 kind of individually would be a lot cooler. But I decided to wait because they've got to eventually release the theatrical versions. Now that Lucas does not own, unless there was something in the sale contract where Lucas was you are never allowed to release the theatrical versions in Blu-ray form. Because on these Blu-rays they actually do have the theatrical versions, but I think it's an SD. It's like a DVD bonus disc. And it's the same thing that I've got on my DVDs where it's like a rip from the Laserdisc version, and so it's not anamorphic widescreen. So there's black bars all the way around the image. And if you want to actually have it fill your TV, you have to zoom it in. And then if you've got the closed captionings on, it cuts the closed captioning off because you've zoomed it in. So that's super annoying. And so technically they've released the theatrical versions. They're on those Blu-rays, but they're not in HD, and they're not a good transfer or anything like that. They look like crap.
Right.
And so I figured they've got to one day release good quality Blu-ray versions of those theatrical versions. And when they do that, that's when I'll buy that.
I heard this a long time ago. Probably a decade ago. But I heard that it's probably just people trolling back before trolling was even a word. Right. But I heard that George Lucas said that they did not have access to the original Star Wars
like film print
for the first movie.
I mean, maybe they don't, and if that's true, that's a shame. You'd think that they would still be able to do some sort of, I don't know how they, when they make a Blu-ray, I'm assuming they go off the film print, maybe, but you'd think they'd be able to do some sort of conversion and still get a decent quality. Right. At least make it anamorphic, like even if it's not, even if it's not HD, and you're just putting out an SD version of it, like at least make it so that it isn't a 4:3 image.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just mean.
I think we will be able to get it one day. And now that Disney is behind it, I think there's a very good chance. Yeah, that if they have the capabilities, then it'll happen.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, they'd make so much money because every Star Wars fan would go out and buy the original theatrical versions on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
if they could. So I hope they don't wait until
there is
Episode
a problem
9 comes
with
out.
it though. Like, here's something that was brought up about why George Lucas replaced Anakin with Hayden Christensen is because what year did that happen? Revenge of the Sith had not been released.
It was like 2004, I think.
Okay.
It was when the DVDs were first, like when the original trilogy was first, like the first time it was released on DVD.
Right. Well, think of this. Had the prequels been a success, George Lucas would have gone and done episodes 7, 8, and 9 by himself.
Right.
And I bet he was wanting to have Force Ghost scenes in 7, 8, and 9 with Luke and Anakin, and he put Anakin in there or Hayden Christensen, because in 7, 8, 9 he was going to use Hayden Christensen as the Force Ghost Anakin.
Right. That's a strong possibility. I guess it makes sense. But since he's not making 7, 8, 9, we should just go back to the original Force Ghost.
Totally, yes, agreed. That's a different. We talked about the Han shot first,
right.
Which
I guess if you watch the movies 1 through 6, like if you have a Star Wars marathon and you watch them out of order, technically by watching 1 through 6, I guess you could kind of understand why it's Hayden Christensen showing up. Not really, because I feel like he wasn't. You almost think like it's going back to like when they were innocent,
right?
Which isn't really true because he wasn't. Because he's long-haired Anakin there, so he's like killing the Jedi kids and stuff at that age,
right?
But it just like it doesn't. In terms of just Return of the Jedi, it doesn't make any sense because the only time Luke has seen his father without his helmet on is at the very end when he takes his helmet off and he's that crusty old white guy. So to see Anakin as an older guy would make more sense in terms of what Luke is looking at, rather than being like, "Who's that dude?" Like that's another thing that just kind of bugs me. But I guess it would make sense if he's going to have Anakin basically be the Force Ghost like he had with Obi-Wan, Empire, and Return.
Yeah. And if it had been successful, it wouldn't have been a problem. People would have accepted that, and especially in his mind, because he's trying to do this with the idea everyone loves Star Wars. This is a story about Darth Vader. I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe that people would enjoy it. So he's doing these movies, with the idea that people are going to like these movies, and I have a further plan for them, and in order for it to make even more sense, let's put Hayden Christensen in, because he's going to be, later on, liked.
Thank goodness he didn't go back and replace Alec Guinness from Empire and Return of the Jedi with Ewan McGregor.
That's a little bit different, because it is Alec Guinness.
Sure,
you can't replace him with Ewan McGregor. You just can't.
Well, Lucas probably could do whatever he wants. Because I can see him being like, well, you know what? I wouldn't mind having Obi-Wan's Force Ghost in Episode 7, but I can't. Alec Guinness is dead, so I guess I'm gonna have to go back and replace him with Ewan.
Yep. So let's get to the core of Return of the Jedi.
The Ewoks.
That's yeah. Bye. I'm out.
That's the core.
I liked the Ewoks growing up.
I did too. I love the Ewoks,
and they don't bother me per se, but I can definitely see how they're.
I still actually don't have a problem with the Ewoks necessarily.
Right.
I think my issue with the movie is that it kind of hits a bit of a wall when the Ewoks think C-3PO is a god and they're all strung up and they keep telling C-3PO to like let him go. Like it just kind of slows down for a little bit right there. And so that's my only real complaint about the Ewoks is that it just kind of it slows the movie down a little bit in the middle right there when I really wish it wouldn't. That was like the only place in the movie watching it again this time around that I kind of got bored.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much just because I've watched the movie so many times, and when I really, really watched the movies was when I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
And that section is a part of the movie, so it just kind of flows for me. It doesn't slow down for me. I can definitely see how it could, but
yeah.
To me, I view it as part of the Star Wars universe that they were trying to show the different. You've got the snow planet Hoth, the desert planet. Now we're in a forest. It's what they came up with, and it's kind of cool to see the different worlds. Mm-hmm. The speeder bikes don't make sense to me. As much as I love the scene,
yeah.
Why are you riding speeder bikes?
Those speeder bikes though, those are like one of my favorite Star Wars vehicles.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
I think they look really cool.
And the stormtroopers' armor is really cool on those too. They've got like the goggle helmet.
Yeah. I haven't played Battlefront yet, but you can ride around on a speeder in Battlefront, right? Don't they have like a Battle of Endor level or something?
I don't know.
It looks like it. On the back of the case, I'm pretty sure there's Endor, and I think there might have even been like speeder bikes in the trailer.
Yeah,
I hope there are, because it'd be pretty sweet.
I would assume. I'm pretty sure there was in like the second one.
Yeah. I'd probably hit a tree very often.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't make much sense. Something I've never really picked up on, but talking about slowing down the movie, I think was when they're trying to break into through that door.
Mm.
And it keeps cutting back. Like you'll go to a scene with Darth Vader. We totally skipped over the Jabba the Hutt thing except for the dancing part, which is important. Which is a very important scene. Actually, we need to go back and talk about that because we need to talk about Luke Skywalker.
Sure. Well, before that, I only wrote like 2 notes, but one of my notes was this is one of the few times that we see C-3PO translating. And he has bragged quite a bit about how he knows, several million different types of languages. And he seems to really be struggling in one of these scenes. I can't remember. It's in the beginning, and I can't remember exactly what it is. But he's like kind of falling over his words and stuff and doesn't know if he's translating it correctly. And so one of my notes was like, is he just lying about knowing 6 million different forms of communication? Or is this just one of the ones he's not totally fluent in? I thought that was kind of funny.
That's hilarious. I did not even pick up on that. That was great. Something I was going to say is Han Solo. This scene really establishes how important I think to Jabba the Hutt Han Solo was, and it also speaks volumes about his reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jabba the Hutt is, first of all, a very powerful creature.
Yeah.
And
he's basically a gangster.
He is bragging about having Han Solo as a display piece. So I think that goes to speak a lot about Han Solo and how, first of all, they did have a history. You know, they mentioned that, but this shows that Jabba the Hutt now he's actually displaying it. He didn't kill him. He didn't have him thrown, and crushed in a dumpster somewhere. He had him frozen, and it has a light shining on him for everyone to look and see that what Jabba the Hutt did to Han Solo.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. I never really thought about that before, but it kind of sets Han Solo up really high.
Yeah.
And this was the first movie in the original where you see, well, it's not, you don't see him, but this was really the most screen time that Boba Fett had.
Right.
He doesn't have any lines though in the original. He does in the special edition, right? It's just like one line or something. He says something, I think.
In Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't remember.
But my point is that one of the things that I loved about Boba Fett growing up was his mysteriousness, and they kind of they spent a lot more time. There was, I think, an added scene where they had him standing with like two alien girls, and he's trying to look like all the girls want him, and that he's a really cool guy. They didn't need to add that.
Right.
Boba Fett was cool on his own.
Right.
So that's and then. Another important thing to bring up is this is the entrance of Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way they did it, You had a miniature Where is Luke for this movie. Like for The Force Awakens, we had this whole thing.
Huge Where is Luke.
But here comes Luke with the door opening slowly. Everyone's passed out. And he's kind of coming in like a thief. And he's wearing all black. And he's hooded. And I think for the first time, an audience watching this, not knowing, especially coming off Empire Strikes Back and him just finding out that his dad was Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Did he turn? Is he now, a dark side user? So that must have been really cool to be in the audience and not know the answer to that. Especially because
I never thought about that, and I guess it's just because, like you and I, when we talked about how we grew up on this movie, we obviously know that Luke Skywalker is, on the light side of the Force, and
right,
and so, but I've never thought about how, like, trying to see it for the first time, and perhaps wondering, like, did he turn?
Yeah. Not to mention, I never noticed this. Someone pointed it out to me like a couple weeks ago that. The first thing he does is he force chokes pigs, like two of the pig guards. And that's like a dark side move.
Right.
So, I think, there was even talk that George Lucas wanted Luke Skywalker to turn to the dark side. That was actually the original plan.
Yeah, I think that I remember reading something similar.
So I'm wondering if the reason he was wearing black robes and cloaked and was using force chokes was because he was dabbling in the dark side. But then after they, ended up with the final product, they're like, nah, he's just force choking pigs. he just wanted some ham.
They're pig guards.
they're just pigs.
Let's talk about the Rancor in Jabba's. That's what it's called, right? The Rancor monster, or Rancor pit, or something like that.
Yep.
The Sarlacc pit, Rancor. Yeah. That monster always kind of I wouldn't say freaked me out as a kid. Return of the Jedi, you got to remember, is the first Star Wars movie I ever saw, and I saw it at a friend's house. So I was probably pretty confused, honestly, about what was going on in the first half of the movie.
Did you say the first movie you ever saw, or the first Star Wars movie?
First Star Wars movie I ever saw.
Okay. Man, that would have been awesome. You're like,
that would have been
this
pretty
is
cool.
what life is?
Yeah, it would have blown my mind. No, it was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. I don't remember whose friend's house I was at, but I was at a friend's house, and I don't know if it was his idea or if we were being rambunctious, and his mom was like, you know what, let's just watch a movie. But she popped in Return of the Jedi, and the parts that really stuck out with me the most were, I remember the Rancor and the fight scene between, basically the final showdown, I guess, if you will, between Darth and Luke and the Emperor. That whole sequence, like the last 30 minutes of that, really stuck out to me as a kid. Those are the parts I remember the most. And the scrolling text in the beginning, because that was the first time I'd ever seen that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But no, the Rancor really kind of stuck out just because he's so kind of scary. You know, he's this huge monster that can bite through bones and stuff. So
right. Yeah, I'd say scary is a good
adjective
to describe the Rancor. Especially since he can pick Luke up in his hand.
Yeah. He can bite the head off those pig guards.
Yes. I loved how when Luke wins, his like trainer guy
starts crying.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that too. That's pretty good.
That was probably, I don't know if that was George Lucas humor thing, but if it was, props to you, George, on that one. That one was funny. That one was good. That one was good.
When Luke obviously beats the Rancor, they're taken to the Sarlacc pit. They're going to get thrown into the Sarlacc pit. And that's another addition that Lucas made. And this was actually, I guess, for the special editions when they released it in 97 in the theaters.
Uh-huh.
The Sarlacc pit used to just look like a big hole with kind of teeth, I guess.
Right.
And now it looks more like a Venus flytrap type thing coming out of that pit.
That is true.
And honestly, I thought it was scarier the other way.
Agreed.
There's something about like the unknown and being thrown down that pit.
How big is this thing that's under the ground?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's another addition that I just really wish he hadn't made, because I really feel like it takes away a lot of the mystery and a lot of the scariness of it.
It had been a little while since I watched, Return of the Jedi, and growing up, like I said, I watched the originals a lot, and I don't really remember too much about how the special edition one looks, because I always remember just like you said, the flat one.
Right. Well, needless to say, it doesn't look very good, and especially now because the graphics are from the CG is like 97 CG, so the Sarlacc pit looks even worse now, probably.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know why this viewing it didn't stick out to me. I might have been busy with my kids for that scene or something.
Sure.
But I don't remember like. It seems like I do. Was it CGI heavy?
Yeah, I mean it's basically this. Like I said, it used to just be the pit, and now it was like this creature kind of coming out of the pit. It looked kind of like a. It really does look kind of like a little. What's that movie called? Little Shop of Horrors kind of plant,
right?
Type thing with tentacles.
I got
which
you.
I know that there was sort of tentacles originally, because there's a tentacle that wraps around Lando Calrissian's leg. So this one made the tentacles a little more prominent. And even if it was just the tentacles, I think I would have been okay with it. It's that whole like giving it the head, basically. It just doesn't look nearly as scary as just that crazy pit with like the teeth.
Gotcha.
Personally, that's just my opinion.
Okay. So Boba Fett gets knocked in there.
Yeah, he's dead. Supposedly.
Apparently he, in books later on...
Revives.
Yeah, he gets out of there with his jetpack.
Yeah.
I would say he's dead. As much as I love Boba Fett.
Speaking of Boba Fett, they're going to make a Boba Fett standalone movie, supposedly.
Right.
We've got the Rogue One movie coming out, which I think is actually kind of going to be interesting, because that's the whole story about how the rebels got the plans for the Death Star. So that one's going to take place in between episodes 3 and 4, which is going to be kind of cool, I think. And then we've got the Han Solo movie, which I'm a little nervous about, just because it's Han Solo, and anybody playing Han Solo other than Harrison Ford is going to be got some big shoes to fill.
Yep.
And since they're making it
because every time you look at young Han Solo, you're going to be thinking about the man he becomes.
Right.
And to take someone and say he grows up to be Harrison Ford is really hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't envy the casting people on that film.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they don't. I've read rumors that like Miles Teller has auditioned, and a couple other people. Miles Teller most recently obviously played Reed Richards in Fantastic Four. And Miles Teller's a fantastic actor, I think, but he's not a young Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be, they're either going to have to go with somebody who's kind of an unknown, or somebody's going to have to really kind of surprise me, but I don't think Miles Teller's the one.
If only River Phoenix were still around.
Right. Of course, now River Phoenix would be like 50-something.
Yeah, I know.
That's hilarious, though. So anyway, so then we've got the Han Solo movie, and then we've got the Boba Fett movie. And I kind of agree with you about how I like the mystery behind Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I really didn't, another one of the things about the prequels that I wish didn't exist was kind of the whole Jango Fett, Boba Fett thing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you bring up you took away the mystery from Darth Vader as well.
Well, that's true.
With the prequels. But yeah, definitely, you're right. The Jango Fett stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because Boba Fett, even though it's his son, Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett. So we presumably know what Boba Fett looks like.
Right.
Because he's going to grow up to look...
Right, and I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
But you needed, in those movies, you did... That scene itself with Jango Fett was an okay scene, in my opinion.
Right.
For, as far as the prequel movies go.
Sure.
And you needed to have that interaction with Obi-Wan and Jango Fett as a man. So...
Right.
But yeah, you're right. You know what he looks like.
Yeah. And Lucas even went back into Empire.
Actually, no, I take that back. Was Boba Fett? I don't think Boba Fett was a clone of Jango.
He was a clone, but Jango requested that they didn't do the age, because they're like, basically they cloned Jango, and then they would do this like age progression so that they would speed up the age process and become adults like faster.
That's right.
And he asked to keep one for himself, but not to do the age progression.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So you do know what Boba Fett looks like, and he has the same haircut and everything.
Everything. Lucas even went back into Empire and got the actor who played Jango Fett to redub the voice of Boba Fett in the special editions.
Gotcha.
Of Empire, and maybe even Return. I'm not sure, but so that's kind of annoying too. And that's why, Boba Fett is such a cool character. Obviously, the idea of having a Boba Fett movie seems cool, but I feel like it's just going to kind of take away some of the mystery of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And are they going to stick to the whole Boba Fett being a clone thing? So I'm assuming it's going to be
because those movies are canon.
Sure. And so, it's just, I don't know. I guess it'll be a bounty hunter movie, and I'm sure it'll be cool. I'm sure I'll go see it, but I almost wish they weren't making it just because of what, like you said, it takes away the mystery of Boba Fett. I kind of like Boba Fett because I don't know much about him,
Right.
I like it
at
even
the
better
same time, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what if you could take this character and make him something really cool that we would be missing out on because we didn't want to ruin mystery.
Sure. And I'm sure that's exactly what's going to happen too. This Boba Fett movie is going to come out and it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to think, well, I was totally wrong. I'm glad they made
that. Would be. I hope so. I hope
so
that's
too.
The case. I actually liked who played Jango Fett.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he played Abin Sur in Green Lantern, I believe.
Okay. I actually liked his character as I now that I'm thinking about it, I would be okay with him being a cloned, just older version of that guy, because I liked him as Jango Fett for the most part.
Right. I'm trying to look up the actor's name here. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Put a nice scar down his left eye.
Tamura Morrison. Yeah.
Anyway, Return of the Jedi.
I haven't heard of it.
The movie where Boba Fett dies, and they need to keep him that way.
Spoiler alert. Just kidding. And they need to keep it that way? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think if there is another Jango Fett clone, it should not be Boba Fett.
Gotcha.
I think it'd be kind of cool if there was another one, like, Mandalorian. Who you never know, but
yeah.
They have to connect to the prequels. They can't let the audience that grew up and became Star Wars fans because of the prequels and because of the cartoon series that is tied to the prequels.
Right.
You can't drop those fans.
Right.
So you've got to have ties for both generations.
Right. Which is why Jar Jar Binks is going to be the bad guy.
Exactly.
No, I agree with you. I think it's very easy for especially someone like J.J. Abrams, who grew up with the original trilogy and not the prequels, to want to completely forget about the prequels.
Right.
But I think it's obviously makes more sense from Disney's point of view to embrace the sequels, because you're right, there is a group of people out there who grew up on the prequels, who grew up on the TV show. They know a lot of the characters from the prequels more so perhaps than the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And that would be alienating a lot of an audience,
And I believe they said that show was canon. The
Clone Wars show?
Right, there were two of them. There was one that was 2D and there was one that was 3D animation. And the 3D animation, I believe, I heard that they said that is canon. Which is interesting because that's the only thing that they included besides
the films.
They threw out all the books.
Mm-hmm.
Except ones based on the
movies.
The actual, yeah.
I've heard that's a really good show too, Clone Wars.
I haven't seen it. I'm wondering if it's similar to the Green Lantern animated series.
Right.
Because I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It's a shame they canceled it.
Did that get canceled?
Yeah, it did, because they couldn't sell toys, and I heard one of the problems was they'd call up, like a store, and it was around the time the Green Lantern movie came out. Right after, actually. So, and because the movie wasn't successful, they're not selling Green Lantern movie toys. And they'd call up and be like, hey, we've got some Green Lantern toys that, we'd like you guys to put on your shelves. And they'd be like, oh, no thanks, we've got Green Lantern toys already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that, I think, really hurt, definitely didn't help the show. And it ended well. I liked it. I thought it was good, and I was really intrigued to see where they were going to take it, because they had all the different color lanterns they had. They didn't have all of them, but they had already introduced red and orange and violet, and I think pink. Was
it just the one season?
Yeah, it was just one season. And one of the characters that he's red, and he ends up kind of tagging along, and you really he's a cool character. You started connecting with Sinestro was only in like one episode.
Right. I want to say, I think I bought when they came out on DVD. It was like Volume 1, Volume 2, and I bought both of them. But I think I've only watched, honestly, the first like 2 or 3 episodes. So I know the guy you're talking about that kind of tags along.
Yeah, his name's cool name. Razor, I think is his name.
Yeah. I think you're right. So I'm gonna have to. There's a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, you should. If you have it, you should watch that. It's only like 20 something. Yeah, it's.
They're only 20-minute episodes. Yeah, 22 minutes.
Yeah, and it was good. I enjoyed it. it definitely got better as it progressed, and by the end, you were pretty, connected to a lot of the characters. Yeah. Kilowog was cool. They did him pretty. I liked how they did Kilowog a lot. Mm-hmm. And he's like one of the main characters throughout the series.
Man, speaking of Kilowog, but last night seeing the Hateful Eight, Michael Madsen's in the Hateful Eight, and I think he's been smoking like 40 packs a day since 1992, because he's got such a gruff voice that I didn't think about it last night when I was watching the movie because I was very into the movie. But looking back and like thinking about the lines he was saying and stuff last night, I was like, God, nobody else should be cast as Kilowog. Like Michael Madsen should be like Michael Clark Duncan was fine, but he seems kind of like an obvious choice to play. Like, what big guy can we get to play?
Right,
Kilowog?
and that's exactly why I did not enjoy him being Kilowog, because I felt like it was a wall.
Yeah, right. And I think that Green Lantern First Flight that cast Michael Madsen, right? Was that the one that cast Michael Madsen?
Yeah, it was the animated one.
Yeah. That was the perfect choice. And, like, in my brain, Michael Madsen, anytime, like, if I'm reading a comic that has Kilowog, like, I hear Michael Madsen's voice. It's the perfect Kilowog voice.
Uh-huh. I kind of do a mix between that, I think, and what I think the Thing sounds like.
Right.
For Kilowog.
Yeah,
the Thing and Kilowog sound very similar in my comic book reading voices.
I can see that. Think about Michael Madsen saying, "It's clobbering time."
Hey, it'd work.
Yeah, I think it would too, actually. So anyway, back to Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Something that I was wondering if you had any theories on was when they get to Endor, and Darth Vader goes and tells the Emperor, "Hey, I'm going down there, and Luke's down there." Verbatim. Like that's what he said. And the Emperor was like, "Whoa, wait, what?"
Come again?
He said, I haven't felt his presence. He was very shocked. Why do you think that is? Why would the Emperor not be able to sense the Luke Skywalker who... And then he contradicts himself. This is what I wrote down in my notes. After that, he says that he has foreseen events happening. Like, he has foreseen whatever battle they have, and he basically knows how it ends. Or,
right.
I guess not ends completely, but... So he knows that Luke is on Endor with that vision.
Right.
So why is he shocked that Luke's there, and why can't he feel his presence?
I do remember him saying that. And I honestly have no idea. I would like to rewatch that scene. I wonder if he's playing some sort of mind game with Vader.
But I
honestly don't know why he would.
Credit.
Right, I think honestly it's probably
because George Lucas likes to spell things out for the audience.
Yeah,
he doesn't like to have you sit there and especially with the prequels. It was just how evident it was that the Emperor was the Emperor, and he was up to no good.
Right.
It's possible, but I don't know if that was really.
And what would be the point? Because it's like Vader's like, my son's here, and Emperor's like, is he?
Right. Exactly.
Like Vader's like, yes, he's here. I'm gonna go see him, and he's like, is he? Like, it just doesn't.
By
make
the way,
sense.
I know you guys fight in like an hour down in the corridor.
I've foreseen it. By the way, you kill me. Thanks a lot, jerk. No, I don't think he foresaw that, but yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me either. I'm be curious to hear some other people's thoughts on that. The only thing I could attribute it to is maybe just. I don't know. I was going to say poor writing, but I don't really want to blame the writers for that because I don't honestly know why that would be in there.
Right. Ian McDiarmid is he's so amazing in this. And and the directing too with his scenes is just so great. And I love his makeup. I love his look. Mm-hmm. He just looks, and his eyes, and the way that he uses his eyes and his teeth, and his mouth, the way he forms when he's talking, and his scowls. You can just feel that this guy has no heart at all. He is pure, dead, just evil. And that's one of the things that I think was really cool, that you had to stand up to Darth Vader. You had to create a villain.
Yeah.
For when people had never seen this movie before and never seen the Emperor, they're used to Darth Vader, who is already, he's on a high pedestal. And then you have to create a villain that's above him, the guy that Darth Vader answers to. Right. And the guy that they created, the Emperor, was, I think, an amazing accomplishment. Mm-hmm. He was a good guy for Darth Vader to bow a knee to.
And this was the first movie, because I believe he was mentioned in A New Hope, right?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader talk about the Emperor.
Yes.
And then in Empire, you saw the Emperor speak to Darth Vader through like the hologram, hologram communication, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But this is the first time we're seeing him in person.
I love the scene where it's very early on. Darth Vader lands on the
it's the opening scene,
the incomplete Death Star. The Emperor's coming here.
We'll double our efforts. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
Love it, love it, love it.
Which I like that line too, because Darth Vader's not that forgiving.
Right. Exactly. But apparently he was there. He just turned and walked away. But I think he was getting, sadistic pleasure in the fact that he knew the Emperor was coming, and he wanted to see what the Emperor was going to do to this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to go pop the popcorn.
I remember thinking when the prequels came out, and this was me, my young dumb mind, being impressed that they were still able to get Ian McDiarmid, because I thought he was so old. It's just because of how
I know
he
what
looks.
You mean.
Huh?
Yeah, I was the exact same way.
It's just because of how he looks as the Emperor, because he was born in 1944, so in like the 80s he wasn't even 40 yet when he did Return of the Jedi. He's in his late 30s playing the Emperor.
Right, yeah, exactly. When growing up, this was this really old guy.
Yeah.
That was playing the Emperor. He was an old guy, and it was really cool that when that's one of the few cool things I think about the prequels is that when they did them, without makeup, his actual age fit really well with who he was playing at the time period of the movies.
Right,
those the movies were taking place.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. So yeah, definitely great casting choice, Ian McDiarmid to play the Emperor. One of cinema's greatest villains, really.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Everybody will think of Darth Vader, obviously. Darth Vader's the cooler villain when you think of Star Wars villains, but Emperor's probably,
Darth Sidious.
Darth Sidious. He's probably one of
That's a cool name, too. It's one you don't hear him referred to as very often.
No. Well, you didn't hear him referred to that at all
until the prequels.
Right.
But I like it. I think it's a cool name.
Yeah, I agree. The showdown between, I know we're probably skipping some stuff here, but the showdown between Darth and Luke is kind of it's I like how they cut back and forth between, you'll see a scene with Luke and Darth or Vader. That always kind of annoys me when people
call him Darth.
Darth, yeah, because there's multiple. There's Darth Maul. There's
but
Darth
he
Sidious.
Is the Darth. When you say
absolutely.
Darth,
right,
you would safely assume that you're talking about Vader.
Vader, absolutely. So yeah, when you see Luke and Vader, and then it'll go back down to Endor or Lando, and then it'll kind of cut back to Luke and Vader. So the scene is kind of extended, and it's fairly slow paced. Where it's a lot of, I noticed this time around, it's a lot of mind games. Really, it's Luke looking outside the window, seeing his friends kind of flying into this trap, and knowing that he could end it if he just.
And this is where the writing and the story creation really needs to be given its credit and due, because it is just it's great.
And one of my favorite moments out of maybe the whole trilogy is, which is funny because it's almost Luke giving into the dark side, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
The Emperor is like, kind of goading him, I guess is the term. He's like, take your lightsaber, strike me down. And then he's like, and your path to the dark side will be complete. And then he goes for it. He
does.
Force grabs the lightsaber, but it's an awesome moment where Darth Vader's lightsaber comes out and Luke's comes down, and you just see the Emperor laughing. Doesn't even flinch at the fact that there's a lightsaber inches from his face. And he's just like, ha, ha, ha.
Yep.
Like, I love that moment.
That's where the Emperor felt, he's like, we got him.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yep.
Now, whoever wins this battle is going to be, the greatest warrior, and they will be, whether it's Vader still or Luke, I'm going to have an even more powerful.
Mm-hmm. And he's probably like, if I can get them both, then
Right. Oh, can you imagine if he had?
The galaxy is mine. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that would have been wow. Yeah, that scene's great. That's the scene where they keep cutting back to where they're at the door trying to break in?
I believe so, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to bring up. I think it's a very hard scene to go to because they're so long. There's not really any dialogue except for look out, and you just see them ducking from blaster fire for a number of cuts. And that area I felt like was kind of just filler to cut away from the fight. Right. But there was really nothing to go to.
Right. It was like kind of a false sense of tension. I know R2-D2's trying to open the door. He gets a little fried. There's the one comedic moment where Han is like, I got it. And he closes like the blast door.
Right. Then you really got to wait for them to get through that thing. You're like, well, we've got about 5 or 6 more cuts of this.
Right. And I think some of those cuts do have some Ewok fight scenes. Ewoks knocking down the AT-STs and stuff. Which
that is true. And those scenes are fun to watch. I like watching the AT-STs. That's such a cool vehicle.
Yeah, I agree.
And whoever created that, props to them, because that vehicle has gone down in history, and I wonder what that was like to see. Of course, you saw them on Hoth,
right?
But this was where they really got their shining moment. And you could see what they were capable of.
Right.
So right before Darth and Luke get into the battle, we were talking about how the Emperor was trying to get Luke to join the dark side, and Darth Vader, when he brings Luke in for the first time, gives the Emperor Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
Uh-huh.
And there's a very interesting line that makes me wonder if the Emperor says a Jedi's weapon, referring to the lightsaber. And it makes me wonder if the only reason that Darth Vader, if Darth Vader's the only Sith Lord that fights with a lightsaber in George Lucas's original intent, because I'm thinking the Jedi were the only people that used lightsabers,
right?
And that Darth Vader, it became that Sith used lightsabers because Darth Vader used one, but the Emperor never uses one in this movie.
Mm-mm.
And I'm thinking that that lightsabers were originally intended to just be a Jedi weapon.
Right.
and that the Sith never were supposed to use them. That changed, of course.
Changed with Darth Vader, or changed with... I mean, because Darth Maul has his lightsaber.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying... Right.
Originally. You're originally thinking that...
Yeah, if Darth Maul had been in the original films, I doubt he would have had a lightsaber.
Because only...
The only reason Darth Vader had one was because he was trained as a Jedi, and he uses one because that's the weapon he chooses to use. But it's not a Sith choice.
I got you.
Which is really interesting, because then eventually the Sith did adapt the lightsaber, and I think it was because of Darth Vader using it. And that really he would have been the only one using it originally, if the lightsaber hadn't caught on.
I mean, by the time by the time of the original trilogy, there's really no Jedis left. You never see Yoda using one. Even though he knows how to, I think. But he doesn't have one. You saw Obi-Wan use one. And Luke. And Darth Vader. And that's really it.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Like, Darth Vader's like the only bad guy, really, to use the lightsaber. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That'd be an interesting question to, like, if you ever met George Lucas, to ask him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or he listens to us, so why don't you just send me back an email?
Just send us an email.
Let me know.
Here's my question about lightsabers. This is my other note, the only other note I took. And my mind is blanking when they first meet. I can't remember exactly where it takes place, but Darth Vader sees... It might be when he's brought him to the Death Star or something, I forget. But he sees Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, which is a new one, because Anakin's lightsaber was lost in Cloud City when he got his hand cut off.
Right.
So this is a new lightsaber that he constructed himself. And I believe Darth says something to the effect of, he's like, "You have constructed a new lightsaber." And then he says, "Your Jedi training is complete." And I was like, is that the last step? Is it like you go through all these things and then the very last step of Jedi training is making your own lightsaber?
I know exactly what you're saying, and that's how it comes across. But what it means, I'm pretty sure it has to mean that you would not be able to construct a lightsaber if you were not a true Jedi, because the concentration, I think, because I'm assuming you construct it with your mind. You use the Force to construct this lightsaber.
Okay.
And in order to get the crystal just perfect with your mind, you have to be complete in your Jedi, in your Force abilities. I think is really where he was going with that.
That's I've never thought about that. That makes a lot of sense, and that would also make sense as to why Jedis are the only people who have them.
Yes.
Because they're the only ones that can construct them.
Right.
That's cool. I like that idea. I never thought about that. But I did. That's how I thought it was. It's like, your last Jedi test, you got to make your own lightsaber.
It's like the Boy Scout badge.
Right, exactly.
All right, you did it.
You got your lightsaber badge. You're a Jedi Master now. Yay!
Oh, it's awesome. Speaking of which, Justin did do a Darth Vader no video that needs to be completed, and it is amazing, so keep an eye out for that.
My computer kind of died on me, and so I finally got it back up and running, so I got to make sure, number one, I didn't lose it, and number two, finish it.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think I have a copy of it if you did lose it, so.
Okay. Yeah. I can always just add on to it. Well, there was a couple scenes I needed to... Well, we don't need to talk about it. I was going to say, I need to cut a couple things out.
Couple little other things I was thinking about. Why the rebels are so intrigued with the Force. They say, "May the Force be with you." What's their interest in the Force? They're not Force users. Han Solo's talking about some hokey old, religion that no one believed in anymore. Why did they always say, "May the Force be with you"?
I have no idea. I was going to say, the only thing I can think of is it is a type of religion where you either believe in the Force or you don't. And Han Solo, because Han Solo originally thought it was some, what did he call it, hocus pocus or whatever. But then he started saying, "May the Force be with you," and kind of started believing it.
He did really. Did they? They didn't say that in the original Star Wars movie, though.
He says, and I think it's more for Luke's benefit than it is Han converting, if you will. But he says right before the battle.
I'm talking about Rebels.
I forget. I can't remember if they say it. Because how they have their briefing,
right?
Talking about,
right, and I know what you're saying. I can't remember if they say it or not, but
I don't either. But I know Han says it to Luke.
He does, yeah, and that was totally a hey, I know that the comment I made about the Force. Well, I'd wish you luck. This is my way of saying luck. You believe in the Force. Hopefully,
right? Like I said, it's more for Luke's benefit than it is for Han,
exactly.
believing in the Force.
Right.
But I think by the sixth or by Return of the Jedi, I would say he's a believer of the Force.
Oh yeah, totally.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's my only thing is I would assume that it's I guess I would say it's kind of a religious type thing, but but I don't know.
Okay,
you'd think that the Empire, obviously the Empire probably believes in the Force because they have been choked to death by Darth Vader multiple times. So you'd think that they'd be like, "May the dark side of the Force be with you, Darth Vader." So I don't know.
Not to mention the Emperor. The Emperor is
sure a Force user,
super Force crazy. So they should be humming hymns of the dark side and stuff. So. My other thing was stormtroopers. Why do they wear? We pointed out before. Why do you wear the armor? Why do you even bother? The blasters kill them, but then it gets worse.
They
than this.
Protect you from nothing.
It gets worse than
Ewok
this.
arrows.
They get killed by Ewok arrows.
Yes.
Why?
Stormtrooper armor is useless. They might as well be out there naked.
Yes.
That's I don't know. That makes no sense. They're like, you realize this is just styrofoam, right? And they're like, yeah, just go out there, you'll be fine. I have no answer for that one other than the fact that whoever provides the stormtrooper armor needs to be fired and replaced. Maybe what is it called in the new movie? The First Order or something like that? It's not the Empire.
Correct. The First Order.
It's
yes, the
First Order. Maybe the First Order stormtroopers got an upgrade and their armor is a little better.
Well, no,
pretty certain that it's not.
I can't say something.
Oh, okay.
You haven't seen any of the TV spots?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
Why is there a stormtrooper?
I can't. Let's
stabbed or something.
Let's just keep talking about the movie.
Well, we're pretty much at the end.
You'll know. Never mind. Where were we?
Well, we're pretty much. I was going to say,
I think we need to talk about Yoda. I think we need to talk about Leia revealing that she's Luke's sister.
I
think that's probably it, because the rest was Battle of Endor and trying to get through the door and the Darth Vader fight.
Right, which basically, I love the scene with Lando flying the Millennium Falcon out of the Death Star, barely making it, and then
right.
Then you've got Admiral Akbar. It's a trap.
Right.
But no, I was going to talk about Darth Vader basically coming back to the light side.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we need to talk about this.
The cinematography in that scene, I don't really know how to describe it, but when the camera is pushing in on, the Emperor is zapping Luke, and the camera kind of pushes in on Darth Vader, and it just shows Darth Vader kind of look back and forth between Luke.
Almost doing a Michael Keaton Batman.
Right.
with
the whole body turn.
Yeah.
Almost. No, just the lighting or something in that scene, in that shot, just it's perfect. Like, I just can't explain it any other way. It's just perfect. And then, of course, I almost said Nolan. Lucas had to ruin it by having, he adds in a no.
Yeah, that was not in my version.
Really?
That's not the
good.
DVD.
It was it's on the Blu-ray version.
Yeah. So
he says no twice. He's looking at, he goes back and forth, and then he goes, no. And then he picks up the Emperor and goes, no, and throws him over the edge.
Yeah.
And that I thought was unnecessary. And then there's one more, it's not an addition. It's I don't know what you would call it. I guess just a change that Lucas made is once Darth Vader takes his helmet off and you see the guy underneath. In the original version, the actor playing Darth Vader, or Anakin, I guess, had these big bushy eyebrows. And I guess Lucas thought they were distracting and he digitally erased them for I think he erased them for the DVD, but he definitely erased
I was going to say
DVD.
that he didn't have eyebrows. I'm 99% sure.
Yeah, Google it. Google Anakin eyebrows.
I'm okay with that. I mean, that doesn't bother me.
That's a change that it doesn't matter. That's not like adding a musical sequence in Jabba the Hutt.
I can see the hair
being right.
Yeah,
being burned off. Sure.
That whole scene is just stunning, and that's another scene where it's you kind of we miss the impact of it by not really watching it as the first audience who had never seen Darth Vader or even imagined being able to really see his face. Got to when it's pulling down and you've got the John Williams music, just the eerie. What is he going to look like?
Yeah,
and in my opinion, you get you get like a sweet looking old man, almost, almost like a grandfather looking kind of guy.
Right.
And
he no longer has the scary voice anymore.
Right, and you can't see rage in his facial expression, and the way he looks at Luke, and to realize, in the line, even though it's almost seems like it should be cheesy hearing Luke Skywalker or Anakin, Darth Vader, asking to look upon his son, without his mask on, but just that whole scene is just. It's just awesome, and you just really get a father-son moment.
Yeah,
and the last line, tell Leia you were right.
Yeah.
Historic filmmaking right there,
and it almost makes the prequels worth it because we finally get to see Anakin kind of come back and go back to the. Light side of the Force.
Yeah, when Darth Vader leaves the audience, you have forgiven him of all those horrific things. Which, when you go back and really look at it, you shouldn't.
Right.
But it's really interesting when he takes off the mask to look at this guy and be like, this guy was the one walking around all those corridors and force choking people. This guy, this human. And it's very intriguing and I think unique part of storytelling that worked really well.
And I was going to say, it definitely, if you hadn't, before the prequels existed, it definitely humanizes Darth Vader.
Right.
We finally have a face. We realize that there's an actual human being under this mask, and
right,
and which we always knew, but like you can kind of forget when you see Darth Vader because he looks, he sounds like a machine with his breathing and everything.
Right.
And so to finally see human eyes underneath the mask and everything, it's a great moment for the character for sure, and it's a great moment for the story.
Now, the guy that they show, the guy's face they use, is that the same guy that was in the Darth Vader suit throughout it wasn't?
No.
I didn't think so.
So they technically used 3 different actors to play Darth Vader. 4 if you count Hayden Christensen in Episode 3. But David Prowse was the guy that was in the suit for, all three movies, basically. And then there was James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader. And then the actor who played the unmasked Darth Vader was a guy named Sebastian Shaw.
I know that name.
I don't know. Other than Star Wars, I don't really know what he's been in. He died back in 1994 at the age of 89.
Speaking of, I didn't know that Christopher Lee died.
Yeah, I guess you missed that, huh?
I missed that one. I found that out like a few days ago. I was like, he died back this summer.
Yeah. I remember hearing about when he died, and it was a bummer.
Yeah, I didn't even know. It was quite a
Good
shock.
Actor. I just found out today that Robert Loggia died. I don't know how you pronounce his name exactly. Loggia, I think is how you say it. You'd know him if you saw him. Look him up. He's a character actor that you've seen in tons of things.
Uh-huh.
He was in Scarface. He was in... I was watching Psycho 2 over, kind of closer to Halloween, and he was in that. Good actor. Sad he was 85 or something like that. But it was sad still to hear about his passing today.
Huh. So you start off with Yoda because you were always a bigger... I like Yoda, but he was your favorite character, wasn't he?
Yoda has always been my favorite character from the Star Wars trilogy. I used to get in arguments with some people at school who obviously were not really Star Wars fans, and they would say, they're like, Yoda doesn't do anything. This was obviously before the prequels came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, Yoda doesn't do anything. He trains Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, he trains Luke Skywalker.
For Yoda. So no, yeah, I don't know why I liked Yoda so much when I was younger, but he was always my favorite. And I thought it was, he obviously doesn't have much. He doesn't do a whole lot in this movie. Luke goes back to Dagobah, and he's there for Yoda's death, essentially. Yoda dies of old age, I guess. But
do you think that was part of the Force that had Luke go to be with Yoda at those last moments so that he could learn certain information or whatever?
That's possible.
Because that's pretty good timing otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. It's possible. He also said he had a promise to keep, which I'm assuming because he tells Yoda in Empire that he's going to be back. And I don't know do you know how many years go by between Empire and Return?
17.
17 years go by?
17 years. I don't know.
I was going to say, that's a long time. You'd think he would have made it back to Dagobah in 17 years. No, but he says he has a promise to keep. He's like, we're going back to Dagobah, R2. I got a promise to keep. And so I feel like, he told Yoda he was going to be back, and so he's going back. But it could be that, if a couple of years have gone by, because he's clearly a little bit more trained and whatnot, it seems, from the end of Empire to now.
Oh, so yeah. You get that with going into Jabba's palace.
Yeah, right, and using the Force, the mind control type thing.
Yeah, he's clearly had some progression with his abilities.
Right, and if he didn't learn it from Yoda, I don't know where he got it from, but I don't know. I'd like to think that he went back to Dagobah, got some more training.
Don't forget, again. Obi-Wan can communicate with him.
That's true. Speaking of that, so at the end of Episode 3, Yoda tells Obi-Wan that Qui-Gon Jinn has learned how to communicate from the afterlife. And he's going to teach Obi-Wan how to do it. That's what Yoda tells him, I'm pretty sure. And so I would take it from that Jedis don't necessarily just know how to be a Force ghost. It's something they have to learn.
Uh-huh.
And Qui-Gon was just awesome enough to learn it after he died. Whereas I think everybody else kind of has to learn it before they die.
So that means when Yoda, at the end of the movie, first of all, he learned really quick.
Sure. Well, Anakin learned even quicker. Because Anakin didn't know how to do it.
That's true.
It's possible Obi-Wan could have told Yoda, because Obi-Wan was hanging out on Dagobah. Force Ghost Obi-Wan.
He's like, hey,
all right, this is what you gotta do.
Just so we don't have to waste any time after you get over here. He's like, this is what you do, okay? That is true. He, on a serious note, he's like, hey, we've got to defeat this Empire. When you die, you need to still be able to talk to Luke, so let's get you started on this thing. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, I imagined that's interesting that Obi-Wan is actually having to train Yoda.
Right.
Yoda's like, all right, how do I do this now, guys? You got to teach me. Let me in on your secret.
If I was Obi-Wan, I would totally mess with Yoda. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to teach. No, you're too old. Like, because didn't they say that? Like, they said Luke Skywalker's too old to be trained.
Too old
Anakin,
to get the training.
At like 8 years old, is too old to be trained. They'd be like, yeah, you're too old to be trained, old man. Yoda would be like, I will destroy you.
Last thing I think that's really important to bring up is the reveal that Leia is a Skywalker.
That's right. It was not revealed in Episode 2. It was revealed after Yoda's death by Obi-Wan in this one. And Luke tells Leia at the Ewok party.
Did you say Yoda's death by Obi-Wan?
No, I guess I may have misspoke.
I may have misheard you.
Obi-Wan tells Luke after Yoda's death.
Okay.
On Dagobah, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Because he's sitting on the log. Why do ghosts have to sit? Did he get tired of standing? So. Did he get fatigued?
Those ghost muscles, man.
Floating there?
Right.
Let me sit down. I can't float any longer, man. This is getting tiring.
You know how tiring it is to be a ghost? We never sleep. That's right. So, do you think audiences... audiences... Oh, my goodness. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a very important thing that ends up happening later, that Darth Vader, that's what triggers Luke, is when Luke says, hey, Dad, your thoughts betray you, man. I can see you're good. And Darth Vader's like, oh, yeah? Well, yours just betrayed you. Because, well, first he uses we'll go after your friends. You really attack. Your weakness is your love for your friends. Wait a minute. Oh, you're thinking about how you just found out that Leia is your sister. My daughter.
I like how his reaction to was, Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me.
Yeah.
I wonder if in his brain he was like, that friggin' Obi-Wan, like, I had 2 kids and he didn't tell me.
I knew he wasn't my friend.
Guy's a jerk.
He just wanted Padme. Oh, Padme, how I miss thee. This is all for you, Padme.
Actually, that's what Darth Vader's turning point should have been. He should have been like, sister. And then he should have turned to the Emperor and been like, you said that I killed her in my anger. But she had 2 kids.
That's so true. Yeah. That obviously wasn't written at the time, but man, that's crazy. That is crazy. I imagine the Emperor's face. Like,
he's like,
oops. Never thought that was going to get out.
This Luke, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's like, he's my son.
Yeah, it should have happened in Empire Strikes Back. The son of Luke Skywalker. Wait a minute. You told me.
He's like, let's not dwell on the past, Vader. Let's not think about this too hard. So, I forgot where we were. So my question was, I wonder, because, again, I've always known that Darth Vader was Luke's father. And like that, I've kind of always known that Leia was Luke's sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just been a known fact for like my whole life. But I wonder if audiences back in 1983 accepted it the way that it's kind of accepted now.
Right. Or were they like, oh, that was kind of a cop-out.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, if they're like, oh, that's convenient.
Right.
Luke and Leia are brother and sister, you know? So I'm curious. I would like to know like what audiences thought back then. If they thought it was like a cop-out, or if they actually were like, no way, and they thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I could see personally being like, oh, really?
Right.
So.
And if it hadn't been like, if those movies hadn't come out for us, if those movies hadn't already been made.
Right.
I think we accepted it easily because it was done and done. That's what Star Wars was. So.
And I don't ever hear I've never heard anybody complain about it. You
right.
know? Like, my dad was never like, yeah, this is stupid. Leia's Luke's sister.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, because I've thought that too.
Mm-hmm. It just feels convenient, kind of,
But it ends up working. They do cool stuff with it, so it works.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I liked how, when Han was asking, do you think he was on the... I like how he wasn't trying to comfort her,
Right.
I'm sure Luke made it out. You think he's okay? It's like, I know he wasn't on there.
He's like, you love him, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, all right. I like how he goes, fine.
Well, I didn't tell you about Melanie, did I?
Chewbacca's like, no. Wait. It's awesome.
That's about... I think that covers Return of the Jedi for what it was. I think the strongest moments for me were the scenes with the Emperor and Darth Vader and Luke. Just great challenging and testing, and the conflict of your hero.
Yeah.
And good and evil, and it was perfectly done.
Absolutely. I agree.
Now, there are sections of this movie that I have rewatching. I'm like, I can kind of like with the Leia thing. I'm like, I can see how this would be the least out of the three.
Sure.
There are some, I don't want to say problems, but just not as good as the other two moments.
Absolutely.
Empire and the original Star Wars.
This one used to be my favorite.
Right.
And
I think it was mine too.
And it must have been because of the Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Emperor showdown scenes. Because
and the speeder bikes.
Yeah, that's true. I did like the speeder bikes. But now upon watching it, I really actually think all three are amazing films.
Yeah.
The original trilogy is the original trilogy, and it's, it's amazing.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. But I think upon watching it now, upon watching all three of them again, this one would probably be my least favorite.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Just because Empire's my favorite. I love pretty much everything about Empire. And then you've got the original, which is the movie that started it all.
Right.
And has, And
it's a classic. The original's just a classic, the boy goes saves the princess.
The hero's journey. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I love it. And so this one is just as good, but just has perhaps a couple of slow moments or a couple of moments that makes it just underneath those other two. So still quite good.
Yes. But it's worthy. It's worthy of being in the set. It's a set with none of them. You take one out and you take, and it's not complete.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not like Terminator 3 where you can just forget it exists. So that being said, for ratings, I can't remember what I gave Empire Strikes Back. Did I give it an A+?
I don't know why you wouldn't have.
I don't know why I wouldn't either. I'm assuming I gave it an A+. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it. But either way, I'm giving this one an A.
Right. Yeah, if I did half stars, I would probably go 4.5, but I don't do that, and that gives me definitely not giving it 4.
So you're giving it 5.
So I'm giving this 5 out of 5 stars.
Very nice. Cool. Well, we'd love to know what you think about Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. You can comment on www.cinemaheroes.com or go to our Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM podcast. Or you can throw us a line on Twitter @CinemaHeroes. I think that about wraps this episode up. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzo.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading.